All right, welcome to today. Today we're going to be working on creating some code that moves things around on the screen. And when we move things, we have to remember that we can't actually move an object. What we're going to do is actually create another object, the same object, over slightly to the right, and then slightly move it around the screen, and it'll give it the appearance of moving because it's just kind of changing positions. Think of those little flip books where you flip through the pages and each picture is a little bit different, so it looks like it's moving. That's what we're going to be creating here today. All right. So to do this, let's first of all name our file. So I've named mine Josh H Moving Objects, and I called mine video because I'm using it for my video. Do the same thing for yours. Name yours your name and then Moving Objects. Make sure to put it in your engineering folder in the Vex Robotics part of your engineering folder. All right. First thing to do now is just to grab a circle and get a circle on our screen. So we'll just draw a circle here. And I think I'm going to put this circle right in the middle. So 240 over, 120 down, and then I'm going to make the radius 20 here. Okay, awesome. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just move the circle over to the side a little bit, to the right a little bit. And to do that, we're going to draw a new circle with, instead of 240, we're going to make it have a 241. So I'm going to come over here and grab a repeat block and put it here. And we're going to repeat this. And in order to change this 240, we've got to use a variable for this one. So I'm going to come down here to variable, and I'm going to make a variable. And I'm going to use X, POS for position. Notice how I've capitalized the P in POS. This is called camel. I can't remember what the style is called. It's camel something. But basically what it is your first word of a variable is lowercase, and then every word after it is uppercase. No spaces are allowed. Hit submit. And so I'm going to grab this X position variable and put it where I'd normally type the X position in. Now whenever I create a variable, I like to set the initial value of that variable. So I'm going to grab a set my variable command, drag it up here outside the repeat loop. I only want this set once at the very beginning. And I'm going to say set X position to 240. So it's halfway across the screen. Okay. Now if we do this right now, it's going to repeat this command 10 times, drawing 10 circles at 240, 120 with a 20 radius, which isn't what we want. We want it to move over. So I'm going to come grab this cool block called change my variable. And the variable I'm going to choose is X position. I want to change X position. I want to increase it by 1 every time. And I'm just going to download this, or let me change this 10 to 100 so we can see what's actually happening. Download this, and I'm going to run it. And you see it like drawing out. It like draws this like left behind image of a circle as it goes. The reason for that is that it's not moving the first circle, it's drawing a new circle every time. So you're seeing that white outline of every circle as you move across. If we make this 5 instead, you'll be able to see really clearly that that's actually an outline of a circle being left behind every time. Okay, so far so good. But what if we don't want that kind of left behind shadow? Well, what we need to do is we need to draw a circle. So we need to draw our first white circle, and then we need to cover it up with a black circle, then draw the new circle after that, and then cover the new circle up with a black one and draw a new one, new one, new one. So it always goes from drawing something to blacking it out. All right, so to do that, we need to let's grab a circle for our very first circle we're going to draw, and we're going to put that one above outside the loop. It's going to be our first circle we draw. Again, it's going to have an X position variable right inside of it, right there. And its Y should be the same as before, 120, and its radius should be 20, just like this one is here. So this is our first circle. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and add some fill color and pen color. So I'm going to set the fill color to, well, let's just leave it as red, and we're going to set the pen color to green. And then we're going to draw our first circle. We're going to come into the loop, and now we're going to draw a black circle to hide this first circle, and basically clear the screen off in between frames. So let's grab another circle. Well, actually, let's go ahead and just right click on this one and say duplicate, and then we're going to put that right above. And we're going to actually delete this change Well, maybe we actually need that one, but that's okay. We'll put another on there. And we're going to go set the fill color of this new circle to black. And we've got to set the pen color to black, otherwise we're going to be able to see the line on the outside. So that'll erase the line and the circle from above. And then we need this to come in right here and change the position by 5. So it draws one at 240, 120, comes in here, and it draws a black one at 240, 120 with a radius of 20. So that basically, this one hides the previous one. Then it changes the X by 5. So now this is 245. It's scooched over to the right a little bit. But we need to set the fill and the green color back to up here. So I'm going to grab, actually I'm just going to Control C, Control V. That will give me that. I'll throw all that away. And this is what I'm going to get rid of this one as well. And I'm going to put this whole thing here. Basically our starting circle is down here now. So let's run this and see if it works. Download and run. Wow, that was fast, but it is moving. Now to slow it down a little bit, I can do a couple different things. The easiest thing to do is grab a weight block and throw it in here and make it a really small amount of weight. I'm going to do mine as 0.01 seconds of weight and download that and run it. Awesome. Now I've got a more reasonable speed that I was looking for. If I wanted this to go slower, I'd make the weight bigger. The longer the weight is, the slower the operation is. All right, so that's it for moving stuff around the screen. Let me show you some other tips and tricks on it. First of all, we should definitely comment our code to explain to ourselves and other people what it means. So I'm going to grab a comment here. I'm going to drop it right up here in front of this one. And I'm going to say here, this is draws the first circle. Okay, and then this next set right here, these three go together, and this erases the previous circle Oh my gosh. My spelling is terrible. I'm going to put quotation marks around erases by drawing a black circle. Now, if your background wasn't black, you just need to draw the circle whatever the background is. So you might start by making the whole screen white, and then you'd white it out with a white here. You erase it with a white circle instead of a black one. All right, and then one more thing of code for right above here, and that's these four kind of go together. And then this is going to be changes the position and draws a new circle. And then maybe this last one, put one more right here. And I'm going to say that this adds a small delay to slow down the animation. Okay, so that's it. That's our code. Now, if we wanted to do some more things to this, we could. Say, for example, we wanted to also change the Y position. So for that, we would just come over here and we would do a new variable called Y, POS for position, hit submit. We would drag the Y position variable onto all of the Y blocks. We would set a starting value for the Y position. Let's just say, whoops, didn't want to do that. Let's just say 120 for the Y. Oop, and we got to say set Y position. And what is all this going on here? Oh, I made a whole bunch of copies on accident. Hang on, let me delete these. Just throw that away. So now we have our Y positions all in place, and we have our set X and set Y. And then now we need to put a change in. So we want to come here and change. We want to change the Y position variable. And let's change this one by a -2. And let's see what that does. So I'm going to run this. Whoops, no, I'm going to download it first. And now I'm going to run it. Oh, now it moves at an angle because it's going to the right 5 and up 2. Remember, negative is up because the numbers get bigger down on the Y-axis. But so it goes over 5, up 2, and draws a new one. Over 5, up 2, draws a new one. Over 5, up 2, draws a new one. So it's moving at a diagonal. Now, if you want to do different things with this, you could. You could say, hey, I'm going to click on the 100 here. Click on this repeat loop. Do Control-C, Control-V. That'll create a whole new loop for me. And now I can come down here to my second loop, and I can change these. I can say, you know what if I wanted to go like -1 and -3. I'm going to change the repeat here to 50. I don't need quite as many as that. And then 50. And then let's say download that and run it. You can see it changed directions there. So you can do all kinds of interesting things by adding more or less of these. Make sure though, before you start copying and pasting loops, that you have your loops with comments on them first, because if you don't, you'll have to go back and add a bunch of repetitive comments later. Comments are definitely required. Don't forget them. All right, so that's it for our animation. Oh, one last thing actually. There's one more way to use variables. So we've been using variables because we wanted to change something. But notice here that I have a bunch of radius values here that are all the same. I'm not going to change them. But if I want to change them in the future, I want to make them all 30. I've got to go through here and type it in 3 times. And if I add more of these loops, I might be doing it 6, 7, 8, 9 times. So one thing you do is I could come here and make a radius variable. I'm going to submit that, and now I'm going to drop that right here on all of the radius ones. And then I'm going to go here and do a set my variable. I'm going to do set radius, and I'm going to set it to 20. So now in the future, if I want the radius to be 30 instead, I could just come here and do 30. And if you're wondering, hey, could I do a change radius here and also make it go bigger and smaller every time? The answer is absolutely you could. So give all of that a shot, see what you think. 2 ways to use variables. One way is when you need to change something during your program, you've got to use a variable. The other way is if you have a repetitive number showing up over and over again, it's good to use a variable for that number so you can change it in one place and not to change it in 50 places. All right, that's it for us today. Have a great day. Good job.